Hey you guys, sharing a project we're working on today. Our home is in need of a little more maintenance all of a sudden. Now that the rooms are done, we might as well go back and maintain them. But anyway, we are going, well, when I say we, I mean him. He is going to sand down these butcher block countertops that we built. By we, I mean him. Anyway, I shared a full video on how he built these butcher block countertops when we were first working on this kitchen. It was the first space we did and finished. And what's happened, these have held up really good. Like we have no, like the seams are still good. The only problem is they've really yellowed, even though I used a apparently non-yellowing polyurethane on top of them. But they've really yellowed, and in fact, let me show you. This side over here by the dishwasher has started to crack a little bit because of all the moisture. It did actually initially start to bow. I'm sorry, I'm trying to show you this with dishes all over the countertop. Anyway, kitchen's gonna be a mess for a while. But so this side definitely needs some work. It actually started to separate here by the sink, and the caulk looks pretty gross. So we just need to kind of give them a refresh. I had thought maybe it was time to think of new countertops, but really these are going to hold up for years, but we just might have to maintain them a little. And hopefully after this one time, it will be much longer before we'll have to do anything. So he's going to sand them down. What are you actually doing right now?
Just removing the old caulk that turned all gross looking. We're gonna use a different caulk this next time too.
What did you use the first time?
Well, we tried to match the color, and the closest color we can come to was more of an outdoor caulk, and it never cured up. It stayed kind of tacky a little bit.
Yeah, let me actually get you a close-up so you can see this. Yeah, so here's a close-up. It's just kind of like gummy and gross. So anyway, we need to do a different caulk, however you say it. And then he's going to just sand all these down. So you're taking the whole backsplash off, right?
Yeah, just to get that caulk out of there and be able to sand it all the way up to the back.
So it'll be nice and refreshed. And honestly, with it being so hot outside now and just the dog days of summer, it really is a good time to kind of turn your attention inside and work on some of these inside projects. Anyway, I will kind of take you along with us and show you each step that he's doing. I just get so many questions on the blog post that I did for these butcher block countertops and on the video I did. Like, people want to know how they're holding up. So I just thought it would be really helpful to show you, because these butcher blocks, they were white oak, right?
They are a white oak.
They are a white oak wood, so it was not cheap wood, but it was still way more affordable than if we were going to do like a granite or marble. So we went with it in the beginning, and they were so beautiful at the beginning, and the stone tap around the sink looked so great, and I just want to get it back to that. So we're going to attempt this little refinish and see how it goes. All right, so this kitchen refresh project is actually complete. And we ended up doing some things that we did not intend to do when we started out, just with the mindset of refinishing the countertop. So let me actually share with you what we did, and then of course show you how it turned out. But sometimes projects and home upkeep projects are like that. You get going and then realize you want to take a turn and go a different direction. And this was definitely one of those. But I am so glad we just started and then figured that out all as we went, because if I would have told my husband he was going to do everything that we ended up doing, he might have like drug his feet on this project. So it started out, we were just going to refinish the countertops that were yellowing and maybe replace the caulk. So Kevin got going sanding it down, and he actually had to go quite a few layers down to get it that new fresh light white oak look that I loved, that was from the beginning. And I thought he was so clever, because I was just terrified of the dust and mess this would create. I mean, this is our kitchen, it opens up to the living room and everywhere, so I was so worried about the mess. But he was so clever, and he hooked our sander up to the vacuum. so that as he sanded, it actually just sucked all the dust right into the vacuum. It was quite clever and worked brilliantly. I've hardly had any dust from this construction project, which was such a relief for me. So as I showed you like how bad it looked around the sink area, that was one of my biggest concerns. And as he got around there, he had the idea of maybe replacing the marble that we had for the stone tap. The concept of the stone tap is something that is seen in Duval kitchens a lot. And so I looked at a lot of the pictures that Duval had done this for to kind of see how they worked around this problem, because we actually built the wood countertops and just chose the depth that we wanted. And then the idea for the stone tap came later. Now in hindsight, we would have found the marble slab that we wanted to do for the stone tap and made sure to make the countertops the same thickness so that it would all match up seamlessly around the sink. Well, since it was an afterthought when we first did it, we had to actually like stack 2 pieces of honed Carrara marble and glue them as tight as we could, and then it was the same thickness as the countertops. It looked great when we first did it, but I quickly saw that just all the water and the iron from our water turned that little caulk line or that seam line super orange. Things started to separate with, you know, around the sink and by the dishwasher, and it just looked terrible. So when we were looking at Duval kitchens and what they did, we actually noticed they seemed to have the same problem with keeping the thickness of the marble and the countertops the same. And I noticed that a lot of their stone taps were not actually flush with the wood countertops, because marble just doesn't come that thick, or as thick as wood typically. So the pictures were still lovely, and there's always still a little ledge where the stone tap was. Now ideally it all matches up, but we were working with a less than ideal situation here. So we chose to just use some of the marble that we already had sitting in the garage from past projects. He cut the right size, drilled the holes for the faucets, and we just accepted the fact that there was going to be a little ledge from the wood to the stone tap this time, but there was not going to be that seam between 2 pieces of marble. And I think it looks a ton better and will definitely work for us for several more years to come. Now, the other thing that kind of shifted as we got going was he sanded down the wood little piece that we had used for a backsplash originally. And again, originally it looked really, really great, but then it yellowed and we got that yucky caulk. And so he took that off, refinished the countertop, and we both just felt like we did not want to put that wood backsplash back up. And so we started to brainstorm what other options were that we could do. Well, he remembered this rectangle Carrara marble tile that we had stored at my aunt's little shed that we had brought with us from the last house. We did this tile in a bathroom, and we had a lot left over. And so he measured and figured out we'd have more than enough that we needed to do kind of a subway tile with the Carrara marble tile. And when he propped them up there and we were debating, immediately we knew this would be a huge improvement, and it would just go so well with the big marble piece that we already have above this little oven alcove. And it was actually a really quick project, I mean, all things considering, to just put that tile up instead of just put the same wood piece on. And it immediately felt better. He got it grouted, and we actually opted to do the white grout, and then it made it so that we could use a nice white caulk on that seam between the tile and the countertops, which works or looks phenomenally better than the before. As you can see, it just looks so much better. So then, of course, the other thing that we had to do was restain and reseal the butcher block countertops. And we played around with it and decided to still do a layer of the pickling stain. And that kind of just makes that white oak stay a lot whiter. So we went ahead and just put that 1 coat of white pickling stain. So we also debated with the sealer. So we used that Benjamin Moore Stays Clear last time, and the wood countertops yellowed. Well, we went to the paint store, our favorite paint store, where they just seem to know everything. And we talked to him about this. You know, because we picked up this sealer that said non-yellowing because we didn't want to yellow, but we still had that result. And he basically, you know, said what we kind of already knew, that because our countertops were under so much natural light from all these windows along here, it was probably going to yellow no matter what we did over time. So since we had like a half a gallon left of that Stays Clear, we just opted to use it again with the knowledge that we're probably going to have to sand these down and reseal them every couple of years if they yellow too much and it bugs us. And actually, now that he figured out the whole vacuum sanding method, it's really not that big of a deal. And I think it'll actually feel good to just kind of refinish these every few years, which, you know, when you do butcher block, that's what they say has to be done anyway. And if you have marble, you usually have to seal that every year anyway. So, I mean, unless you're getting like a quartz like I have here, most countertops need a little maintenance. And since it's just this little run, it's really doesn't feel too daunting to just have in our minds that we're gonna have to do that every few years if we don't want this white oak to have that yellow tint. And I have to say, I just cannot believe what a difference these few little things made in our kitchen. It just finally feels right. Something was always bugging me about our kitchen. You know, when you design a home from scratch, which is something we've never done, you make choices, just usually you're rushed or based off of budget, and then things start to bug you. And I just realized that that wood backsplash piece was one of the biggest things that was bugging me. And so often I would say, someday I just want all marble countertops in here. But actually, now that that wood backsplash is replaced for marble, I feel like this mix of materials with the wood and the marble is just perfect. And I really don't want to replace these countertops anytime soon. I think they will work great for many years to come. And what's even better about this whole project is we didn't spend a dime. We had the leftover tile, he had leftover grout, we had leftover pickling stain and sealer. So it was just a little bit of, you know, elbow work, and it just transformed the kitchen so much. I just could not be happier with it. So I hope this is inspiring to see what a little bit of maintenance, getting creative can do for a space if there's something that's just feeling off for you. Now, I have a lot of little beauty shots here for you to enjoy, and I took them when the kitchen was nice and clean. I was super excited to kind of style this space, and then we decided to do one more thing. But I'm not going to refilm. I'm just gonna share those clips with you and then share a little bit of the last thing that we did. Because if I'm being honest, it's a lot of work to try to get a busy kitchen clean enough to feel like I can do like a reveal or, you know, share space as beautiful as it can be. So I've got those clips for you, but then I wanna share with you the final thing that we did that was kind of like the cherry on top, if you will, for me. So my husband was as he was digging through the marble tile, he's found two of these little trim pieces of Carrara marble that we used in our primary bath here in this house. We have marble up the walls, marble shower surround, and then we put this little trim. So he had a couple of those pieces left, and I started to wonder, would that actually look good right on top of this little marble backsplash that we did? And so I had Kevin just set those two pieces that we have up on that ledge, and I really loved it. Kevin actually felt like it was okay as it was, but I felt like the tile without that little detailed marble trim, it just felt a little too modern, and I like more of a, you know, the European farmhouse. So when he put that little detailed marble trim up, I just loved it. The problem was we only had two. So I did have to order 17 pieces to get it around here, and I just got those from Floor and Decor. And so once he installed those and grouted them in, I just felt like, okay, it's good, it's perfect, I absolutely love it. So please let me know if you think this was an improvement. Maybe I should have got better before shots for you, but I think you saw, you know, the gist of it. We had some really bad situation with the wood and the caulk separating. The backsplash just didn't look great, and then we upgraded everything with just some work and some marble tile, and I just am so happy with it and finally feel like I can kind of leave my kitchen as is and stop thinking about what would make it better. I really feel like we're in a good place, and it's gonna be quite some time before I feel that itch to do something else. So, and surely it will come. That's just the nature of my being. But for now, super happy with how this turned out. If you are one of the followers that have asked me about the butcher block countertops from my previous video, I've had a lot of people ask how they're holding up. I hope this has been helpful for you. There is maintenance, but they're so durable, and it's easy to accept, like the little niches and stuff that they get from maybe food and knives and things being on there. I just feel like they just get better with time, but knowing that you're going to need to put a little maintenance in them makes them well worth it in my book. And I actually wondered and debated this, but it might be fun at some point to switch out the stain. So maybe instead of the pickling stain, maybe at some point I'll crave more of a walnut wood, so that we can just sand that down and then put over a walnut stain. So you could really change the look, but I love kind of the country look that the butcher block brings, and I love the mix of that wood with the marble. It's just lovely in my opinion. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing this and seeing what can happen when you just refresh a space a little bit. Thank you so much for watching, and if you need more details, if I wasn't quite thorough enough, I actually remember a lot of things that I forget to say on video, and I remember them for my blog posts. So if you'll go to tidbitsandcompany.com, you can check out the blog post for this, where I can update and add more information and kind of sum things up in a shorter format for you. And finally, I just want to mention this cute gingham tea towel. This is one of the new offerings that I have in my Tidbits and Company shop. You may recognize this gingham linen fabric from our Butler's Pantry reveal. It's actually the leftover fabric that I had from making the curtains in the pantry, and so we made them up into tea towels. So I have a limited supply, and so I hope if you're watching this and you love these, that you'll hop over to tidbitsandcompany.com, click over to my shop page, and look at the linen that I have for you there. Lots of different colors of tea towels, but this gingham one is really a special one, and I have very limited numbers of them. So grab them if you want them. They're so cute, and I love how they look just hanging on my drawers or covering my sourdough or my kefir water. It's just a really pretty design. All right, we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be back very soon to share more inspiration for the keeper of the home.